Earth logged the ship as Unclassified Authority. That was the official label entered into the global registry. After 12 hours of emergency, meetings and classified debates, it was the only term neutral enough to avoid panic and vague enough to admit ignorance. The object had appeared just beyond lunar orbit, without warp signature, without approach vector, and without explanation. It did not match any known propulsion model. It did not respond to hails. It simply occupied space as if it owned the concept of authority itself. I was assigned to the Orbital Surveillance Division the night it materialized. At first, the anomaly looked like a sensor glitch, a mass reading with no thermal footprint, a silhouette that absorbed more light than it reflected. When triangulation confirmed its presence, every major space agency locked onto it simultaneously. The shape resolved slowly across high-resolution telescopes. Smooth, dark architecture curved inward toward a central spine that pulsed faintly with internal energy. No insignia, no visible weapons, no engines. The most unsettling detail was its position, perfectly aligned between Earth and the Sun at a gravitational balance point where it could remain indefinitely with minimal correction. It was not drifting. It had chosen its place. Military satellites adjusted formation within minutes. Communication arrays flooded it with greeting protocols in dozens of languages. Silence answered. Yet deep spectrum scanners detected a low-frequency emission cycling at precise intervals. Not random, not background radiation. A signal beneath the threshold of casual detection. When analysts amplified the pattern, the room grew quiet. The signal carried embedded structure similar to legal documentation, authorization strings, recognition hierarchies, concepts that resembled governance. It was as if the ship was broadcasting credentials. Earth logged the ship as Unclassified Authority, because the signal implied exactly that. It was declaring jurisdiction. Global leaders demanded clarity. Was this invasion, observation, arbitration? No one knew. Economies trembled as markets reacted to uncertainty. Religious leaders called for prayer. Scientists called for patience. Social media exploded with speculation. Through it all, the ship remained motionless. I began documenting everything for the public archive. Transparency felt like the only stable ground left. If you are following this unfolding event with me, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you do not miss what happens next. Each update brings new revelations, and this story is moving faster than anyone predicted. Hours after arrival, the ship transmitted its first direct response. Not in spoken language, but in structured data packets that synchronized with our satellite network. Screens across multiple control centers flickered as access privileges were requested. Not hacked, requested. Permission denied automatically by defensive protocols. Seconds later, every satellite feed displayed the same message, translated through adaptive algorithms. Authority recognized. Assessment in progress. The implication was staggering. Recognized by whom? Assessment of what? Then power grids across 3 continents fluctuated simultaneously. For less than a second. Not an outage, a demonstration. The ship had interfaced without force. Earth had labeled it Unclassified Authority. But authority over whom remained the question. And the ship had just begun its evaluation. The words authority recognized. Assessment in progress echoed across every secured channel on Earth. They were not translated by human linguists alone. The structure of the transmission adapted in real time to each language, each encryption layer, each network architecture. It was not forcing access. It was proving it could have it. Within hours, an emergency coalition formed between world governments, space agencies, and private aerospace corporations. The goal was simple to determine: whether the ship's claim of authority was symbolic or operational. Did it merely observe our systems, or could it override them at will? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. At precisely 0317 Coordinated Universal Time, every nuclear launch detection system on the planet triggered a simultaneous diagnostic cycle. Not a false alarm, not a glitch. A clean, controlled reboot initiated externally but executed flawlessly. No data was erased, no commands altered. The system simply restarted and returned to standby. The message was clear. It could touch our most guarded infrastructure without damage. Fear spread faster than official statements could contain it. Financial markets paused trading. Airspace authorities rerouted long-distance flights as a precaution. Social networks pulsed with theories ranging from alien occupation to artificial intelligence sovereignty. Through telescopes, the ship remained unchanged, dark and composed, its central spine glowing faintly like a steady heartbeat. Then a second transmission arrived. This time it was longer, structured in layered hierarchies resembling constitutional law of stewardship, conflict arbitration, species maturity thresholds. Analysts compared it to a galactic charter. It did not demand surrender. It outlined criteria, one phrase repeated across every translation. Civilization stability under review. I continued recording updates for the archive, aware that millions were now following every word. If you are witnessing this moment with us, make sure you subscribe to the channel because the next developments could redefine humanity's future overnight. Staying informed is not just curiosity anymore. It is participation in history. As debates intensified among world leaders, an unexpected development shifted the narrative. The ship transmitted a series of historical visualizations back to us. High-resolution reconstructions of Earth's past conflicts, major wars, nuclear near misses, environmental collapse projections. It was not accusing. It was presenting evidence. Then it showed alternative projections, branching timelines where cooperation reduced extinction probabilities, where unified governance models increased survival metrics. The implication was unsettling yet hopeful. The assessment was not about conquest, it was about qualification. For the first time since its arrival, the ship altered position. Not aggressively, it adjusted orbit slightly to align with a direct line of sight to the United Nations headquarters. Simultaneously, a secure communication channel opened, requesting a single representative, not a military commander, not a head of state, a civilian scientific envoy. The message that followed was concise. Authority is provisional, sovereignty contingent on demonstrated cohesion. Earth had logged the ship as unclassified authority. Now it was becoming clear. Authority was not something it intended to seize. It was something it was prepared to grant or withdraw. The day the ship requested a civilian envoy, the world held its breath. No one knew what would happen next. Governments debated endlessly. But the decision was clear to the Global Scientific Council. A team would represent humanity not with weapons or authority, but with knowledge, curiosity, and reason. The envoy consisted of astrophysicists, engineers, linguists, and historians. I was among them, recording everything for the public archive. If you are following this story, subscribe to the channel now so you do not miss what comes next. Humanity's future is unfolding live. We approached the ship in a research shuttle. From a distance it seemed calm, almost dormant, its dark hull reflecting the sun like polished obsidian. Yet the low pulse along its central spine told a different story. It was alive in a way that defied traditional definitions. Every instrument aboard our shuttle detected minute, gravitational fluctuations, electromagnetic shifts, and subtle distortions in space around it. The ship was aware of us. It had been aware of us all along. The airlock opened smoothly. No alarms, no visible life forms, just light patterns that moved rhythmically along the walls, as if the ship itself were breathing. The signal from earlier now manifested as a network of luminous threads weaving around the interior. Each thread carried information, history, and intent. We stepped in and immediately felt an overwhelming sense of presence. Not hostile, not friendly, simply attentive. Then the first communication arrived. Not through speakers, but directly into our consciousness. Concepts formed as images and understanding without words. The ship conveyed its observation. It had watched civilizations rise and fall. It had seen worlds fail because their inhabitants could not cooperate. It had cataloged species across galaxies, judging their readiness for interaction. And now it was assessing us. Authority is provisional, it conveyed. Recognition depends on demonstrated responsibility. We presented our data, our accomplishments and failures, our art, science, environmental efforts, diplomacy, and conflicts. The ship absorbed everything, organizing it with astonishing speed. It did not judge based on power or dominance, but on adaptability, learning, and cohesion. Each decision we had made as a species was now part of its evaluation. Hours passed, then a new transmission. The ship was granting provisional recognition. Not permanent, not unconditional, but enough to allow interaction. Humanity had passed the first test. Authority was no longer merely logged as unclassified. It was acknowledged. The luminous threads expanded outward, forming patterns that mapped routes beyond our solar system. We understood immediately. This was an invitation. The ship was offering guidance, not control. Access to knowledge, observation of distant civilizations, and potential cooperation on a galactic scale. As we prepared to return to Earth, I recorded a final note. The ship had not come to conquer. It had come to evaluate, and in doing so, it had forced humanity to reflect on itself. If you want to witness the next stage of our journey, subscribe to the channel now and follow every revelation. What we learned today will shape how we face the universe tomorrow. Earth had logged the ship as unclassified authority. But now authority was no longer a label. It was a responsibility we had earned. And the first step toward a future none of us could have imagined.